But I think there is one last piece of the puzzle, which is covered Drupal, this huge CMS written in PHP. And for that, we thought about inviting one of the core contributors, Mike Herchel. Please welcome Mike on stage. Please, everyone clapping. Thank you so much for joining us today. I honestly cannot wait to know what Drupal has been up to. So please, give you the honor. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm kind of humbled to be around like such amazing people. We all hung out last night and got to tell some stories and all that. And it just reminds me, you know, I'm involved with Drupal so much, but like the community and the ecosystem is so much larger, you know, between PHP and just like web in general is it's great to feel that, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I'm talking about Drupal, and I'm talking about how Drupal has changed over the past couple of years, and how there's some misconceptions, and how everyone should kind of check it out. So I guess I should introduce myself. I am Mike Herchel. I'm from Gainesville, Florida, where it is hot and muggy this time of year, so it's nice to kind of get out. I'm a longtime Drupal community member and core contributor. So when you install Drupal, it comes with a default theme. I am the primary dev on that. I also help bring components into Drupal core and a bunch of other things, mostly front-end related, of course. Well, not of course. I'm a developer at a great company called ECS Federal that does work for the U.S. federal government. And I'm also an owner of a company called Dripyard, a co-owner of a company called Dripyard that makes beautiful, accessible, flexible, best practice Drupal commercial themes that everyone should check out. And I'm an advocate of course, free open source software and the open web and everything like that, because I believe that's important for humanity. So if you've ever checked out Drupal before, it's been around for a very long time. I think it was started in something like 2001, not too long after PHP was started, and it has a reputation similar to PHP used to have a reputation, you know, back in the early days. Some of the strengths that we have is we're powerful, we've been very secure, accessible, very flexible, and we've had a wonderful, amazing community. But at the same time, we have a reputation for being complex. You know, I've heard, and I've actually referred to Drupal as a beast, you know, when you're using it. It's traditionally had a very high learning curve. There's this funny meme going around of just kind of a death cliff while you're learning Drupal, but once you get to the top, it's easy. Traditionally, Drupal hasn't had any really great page building tools, and out of the box, it hasn't had any beautiful designs. And because of all that, traditionally, it's been expensive to implement. Drupal has, in the past 10 years, we've really kind of moved toward marketing ourselves to the enterprise, you know, large educational institutions, governments, large corporations, and we've done very well at that. You can see a list of like all these famous names right here. But at the same time, we've been losing ground in the mid-market, you know, and that's important because that's where people learn about Drupal. That's where people like learn to love it, learn to hate it, learn what it's about, its strengths, its weaknesses and stuff. There's a funny saying that we laugh and cry over beers at Drupal camps that, you know, Drupal makes hard things easy, but at the same time, it makes easy things hard. So Drupal's leadership, our product managers, have really taken that to heart and made what I consider to be the biggest change in Drupal's history. And there's two Drupals now, which sounds almost a little counterintuitive, but Drupal has always kind of threaded the fine line between a framework and a content management system, depending on how you use it. But now that line is actually drawn. Drupal core is the framework, and on top of Drupal core, you have the product, which is Drupal CMS. And Drupal CMS gives you everything that kind of 80 percentile would need. I like to refer to Drupal CMS as the easy button for Drupal. You know, you can get up and running really, really quickly, and it contains all this pre-configured functionality through modules and everything else that's pre-configured with best practices. And it ships with a page builder called Canvas I'm gonna show you this in a little bit, but it's really easy to use. It enables a non-technical content person to get in there and start building the page visually and have something up and running in minutes. And the installer ships with these beautiful pre-made site templates. So as we go through the installation right now, you can see we have this list of like wonderful site templates. One of them, which I'm proud to say is a DripYard site template. You can install these, and as you go through the installation, of course, you end up on a dashboard, which we'll see here in a second, and then we can navigate to the home page. And the home page it's not a norm, it's not what you think of Drupal. It's actually a beautiful looking web page. So this is a built-in site template called Haven, and it's included with Drupal CMS. Drupal CMS is free open source software. You can download this, install it, and you can be up and running with this by the end of my talk. As I said earlier, Drupal ships with a number of different site templates, and site templates are basically like canned web pages and a bunch of YAML files and composer.json files. So these site templates they'll have dependencies on modules. An example might be an event site template, that may have listings of events or something. It'll have content types for events, of course, and it'll have different fields on those content types, and it'll pre-configure that for you. But it'll also have dependencies on maybe a calendar module, and the calendar module will be pre-configured to do everything that you expect. A site template can ship a theme with itself, or it can depend on themes. And what's really neat is it can ship with sample content, and the sample content is really important because as you're evaluating Drupal, as you're evaluating the site template, it allows you to poke at it to see how everything fits together and how it all fits together, really. Drupal also has first-class component support, which doesn't sound that impressive out of the box, but like once you get into it, it's like heck yeah, So Drupal core ships with what's called single directory components, and they're almost what you expect. It's everything that you need for a component inside of a single directory. So obviously you'll have a twig template. You'll have your CSS and JavaScript files that only get loaded whenever that template is in use. But what's also there is a YAML file, and the YAML file contains the schema of the data that the template's suggesting. And this is super powerful because Drupal is aware of what type of data this template is expecting, what the component is expecting. It can automatically use these. You can drag these components onto the page using a page builder like Canvas or Display Builder or something like that, and it automatically creates that form so you can populate your data within the user interface. Drupal Canvas ships with what's called code components. And code components are slightly different because they're built on React. They're built using JSX, right? And what's especially interesting about them is they're stored as Drupal configuration. Like I said, they're built on React, but what's cool is you can publish them instantly. Drupal Canvas ships with kind of a mini IDE within the user interface. So if imagine that your marketing team wants to put up a landing page. They don't want to wait a couple weeks to go through a development cycle to get this landing page up. They want this up today, maybe sooner than today. You can assemble that page using Canvas, but what if you need a custom component or they have some custom visuals that they want to put in there? You can create this immediately, and you can have this written in a matter of minutes or hours, depending on how familiar you are with it. It gives you previews. You can edit your CSS. It stores it in configuration, which is in the database, but then there's a utility tool where you can export this and you can throw this into your version control. Drupal Canvas, as I mentioned a bunch earlier, it has all the niceties that people expect, like you all are probably somewhat familiar with Gutenberg. Drupal Canvas has a lot of the Gutenberg functionality, but we've also learned a lot of lessons from Gutenberg. We have looked at Gutenberg, sees what does Gutenberg do well? What could Gutenberg do better? Let's do that. As well as other competitors like Webflow and like I said, Wix, Squarespace, etc. We have all the interactions that people expect, like drag and drop, WYSIWYG, undoing, and stuff like that. So in this particular case right here, you can see like we're going from the dashboard and we're going to navigate to the home page. And when we get onto the home page within the Canvas editor, we can start editing the text. And of course, it updates in near real time. And you're probably looking at this and you're saying, well, this is what I expect. And that's what Canvas is. Like there's the biggest surprise about Drupal Canvas is how it stays out of your way. When I go through and I'm assembling pages with Drupal Canvas, the biggest hurdle in front of me is the content, writing the content, putting the content in. The editorial interface acts as an enabler. It doesn't slow you down. You can see in this particular case, I'm dragging stuff around. And I can preview it. I can check it out at multiple different screen widths, and it all just works. You can see in this particular case, we're using a Dripyard theme, and we're assembling a whole landing page, and we're using patterns of components. You can group components together in various patterns, and then use them throughout the website. And you can change around these patterns. So in this particular case, you can see it's sped up, but I built this whole landing page in a matter of minutes. 5 years ago, something like this would have taken minimum days or something like that. And if you have to go through a deployment process, even longer than that. So as Drupal is building up all these like user interface changes and figuring out how we're putting stuff together, we're also improving our foundations. Like with modern PHP, around 2015, Drupal shifted to object-oriented PHP. We adopted a lot of Symfony components. We have first-class dependency management through Composer. We use dependency injection everywhere. We even use PHP fibers in our rendering system. And we have like what I really think is like the best caching system that I've ever seen. Like we have cache tags, cache contexts, and like a whole bunch of really, really great utilities in there that enable Drupal to smartly know when to cache, when to expire the cache, how to surface your editorial data immediately so you don't have to wait 15 minutes for it to get up on a website or something like that. And because of these modern PHP practices, Drupal's actually getting faster. We have all these layers of PHP. It's turtles all the way down with open source, but the end result is getting faster. We have an amazing caching system. As I mentioned, cache tags, cache context. We have like internal reverse proxy caching and dynamic page caching. We do this technique called Big Pipe that was pioneered by Facebook, where they render the easy parts of the website first, and then like the more expensive parts of the website, the parts that might take a little bit of calculating, get dynamically shown to the user afterwards. But what that makes is the end result is that the user experience is so much better. It feels like your data is coming to you immediately. We're upgrading all of our stuff with HTMX and fibers. HTMX is replacing our legacy Ajax system that was originally written back in the day with jQuery. And because of all this stuff, we keep on getting faster. Within the last release, which was probably 6 months ago or so, we reduced our database queries by something like 33% in some cases. We're reducing the amount of JavaScript we ship for our dynamic interactions. And our caching is getting smarter. And if you were to look at graphs, and I did try to look at some graphs using HTTP archive and stuff like that, you can see Drupal is getting faster, and it's exciting to see, and I'm really happy about that. It's a lot. Drupal has this amazing workflow tool called ECA, which stands for Event Condition Action. And it allows you to visually set your editorial workflows. Like if someone logs in and they have a certain role, or if something happens within the content, you can do this. If someone submits a form and it has this form, you can do this. And it makes like the editorial interface for that is pretty neat. It's kind of like Visio on steroids. And what's really cool, I'm going to show this video right here, is it allows you to kind of test out your interactions. It's doing like an Xdebug, but for workflows. So you can create this type of stuff visually in the browser, and you can build these complex workflows that do amazing things. You can have these deployed very quickly. Of course, all this is exportable, so you can throw it into your version control system. You can also share it. There's libraries of pre-configured workflows that you can download, dissect, play around with, break, fix, and all that type of stuff. So you can play around with this stuff. And people are doing amazing things with this more and more, and it's super exciting. So now come the AI slides, because we are in the year of our Lord 2026, and you can't do anything without AI. Drupal has a huge AI initiative where we have like our base modules that do all the basic stuff, where you connect to your provider, you put in your keys, it handles everything securely and properly. And then you have modules that build upon that, so we're not duplicating effort. And what it's resulting in one ecosystem that's not competing. If you need to do something, you know where to go and how to do it. It allows you to swap your providers without any type of changing around your workflows. And Drupal has like an AI policy, and that involves like putting that human in the loop, doing stuff properly, trying to make sure AI doesn't break stuff 20% of the time. And it Drupal works very well with AI, but AI also works very well with Drupal. And that's because we have our object-oriented code base. We have very strict APIs. And when you're using an agent to do Drupal development, it can get quicker feedback if you have those strict APIs. AI doesn't like really struggle with the complexity, but it struggles with the ambiguity. And so when we have like when we do it properly, AI can use that and iterate quicker, fix things quicker. Like there was Dries, who is the founder of Drupal, wrote this really great blog post, and he kind of detailed about how we made these architectural decisions something like, I don't know, 10 years ago, but it's coming back in such a good way because it's built for agents. It's built so agents can easily use it, between structured content, governance, oversight, and just our well mature code base allows agents to work on that. And it's not just like basic things. Like you can see in this video right here, where we're kind of using AI to change around some content, add some tags and stuff. But remember earlier when I was showing all the workflows, we have workflows to set up to do this, that, and the other. Well, AI can build those too. And I was showing like the videos where you have these code components and you're writing with JSX. Well, AI can generate that JSX. AI can throw in your Tailwind classes. AI can write your CSS for you and get you, if not all the way, most of the way there, where you can very quickly get this stuff done with AI. And like all these things together it's almost like kind of seeing everything happen together at once. Drupal CMS is like really getting you up and running in minutes, and we have the marketplace that allows you to kind of get a website going for dramatically cheaper than a Drupal website going for dramatically cheaper than you previously could. Drupal previously, you wouldn't touch Drupal unless you had like a six-figure project, but now you can do it significantly cheaper. It can get you 80% of the way, and you still have that full power of Drupal. Drupal's getting faster. Every single release, we're getting faster. We have performance metrics built into our tests. Editors can now drag and drop and just put things all together and get these landing pages up very quickly, as they would expect to do. And we work really, really well with AI, like both inside of Drupal and then working on Drupal. And like all of this is just kind of super exciting, and I'm super, it's a fun time to be in the web development community, but it's especially a fun time to be into Drupal. And of course, we have a community. We have a community all over the world. Every other week, there is a Drupal camp, which are our regional mini conferences. You can find out about these at drupal.org/community/events. And that's the best way to learn. You know, a lot of our camps will do like a Drupal in a day, which kind of shows you how to set up your content types, set up your views, and do all the stuff that I showed you. And we have 2 DrupalCons, which are our larger conferences coming up. The next one's going to be in Rotterdam, which is about an hour south of where we are right now. And that's going to be in late September. And then in my home state in Florida, we're going to be hosting our first DrupalCon in March 2027. And that's I'm kind of on the planning committee for that. So I'm going to tell you, it's going to be like the best ever. And you all are officially invited. You can reach out to me. You see my email address at the bottom. And yeah, so I'm excited about all of this stuff. So I hope everybody is too.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It was fantastic. I was so happy and glad to see that, a long time ago you changed to Symfony components, that now Drupal CMS is much faster than before, adopting all the good practices. So really happy about all of that. I have a couple of questions for you here prepared. You mentioned that Drupal conferences are one of the best ways to learn Drupal. I wonder, for those who cannot actually go physically to those conferences, which website or resource you think it's the best to learn Drupal in 2026?
Yeah, so there's many videos on YouTube, including like the Drupal Association has regular stuff up there. There's Drupal.tv, where whenever we have a Drupal camp, we typically record those through like these little gizmos, and we throw those up on YouTube on Drupal.tv, and you can see like so many world-class developers just sharing everything right there.
100%. And I'm curious about some of the numbers of DrupalCon, because, I asked the WordPress community how many people they have. They answer like bombastically with 2,600 people going to their conferences. How about DrupalCon?
I think we're in the neighborhood of like 1,500 or so.
1,500, that's insane, dude.
Yeah, we get a lot, and the thing is, it's kind of funny. Like, I always joke that DrupalCons are like a high school reunion where you actually want to see the people, because you get to come and like, you get to see your friends, you get lots of hugs, you get to go talk about all the stupid stuff that you've been doing. And like a lot of times, just through like normal work, you get a little burnt out. But then you go back to these conferences, and it's almost like refilling the cup. You get re-energized.
100%. Communities are about friendship, about all of that. I've been telling this to people all the time. Sometimes you think like, your community is good, the others are not good. But the reality is that on the other communities is happening exactly the same thing as on yours. Things are improving, getting faster, adopting good practices. And before sending the ball here to my colleague Brent, I have a question about this Drupal in AI initiative. You mentioned some of the things you guys are doing in terms of agentic coding to improve how to work with Drupal and AI. I wonder if you know more about this Drupal AI initiative, how it's organized, and if you know more about this.
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's an official initiative, like organized by, I believe, the Drupal Association. There are various different companies that are contributing people hours and also lots of money in there. Like it's kind of a top-down approach as opposed to just kind of naturally flowing together. There are something like over 20 different modules for different functionality that you can bolt on to the main module that allow you to do specific things. I don't know the URL off the top of my head, but there's videos on how to set all this stuff up. And of course, you can always ask AI to help set up that stuff too.
100%.
Impressive. I have to admit, I only had to use Drupal as like an end user once 10 years ago or something like that. I was really impressed by all the things you presented. So thank you, Mike, for coming. And it was pretty short notice, actually, because we were in touch, but some emails got lost. And so in 2 weeks' time, we arranged for you to be here, which is really great. So thank you for being so flexible as well. I think this was a really good addition And I see a lot of positive reactions actually in chat about it. So
I appreciate that. And thanks for having me out. And thanks to all of our sponsors and JetBrains and you two. You guys have just been working your butts off. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone clapping on the chat as well.